Good morning, everyone. It's great to be with you again. We are back again for your online pilgrimage. And this week we're looking at the question, can we trust the Bible? And so just to recap yesterday, we were thinking about the historical accuracy of the New Testament, the gospel accounts in particular. We were thinking about the significance of names and how the significance of names and the accuracy with which the gospel accounts record names and have that little descriptor to tell us who was who at the time suggests that we're actually getting the accounts of people who genuinely lived in those communities and in those times, rather than the account of sort of a propaganda project by the Roman government. So that was quite interesting. If you haven't been able to see it, do take a look back. So today we're thinking a little bit about the Old Testament, or the Hebrew Bible, and what we're supposed to make of that. Can we trust any of the claims there? Is it a reliable text? And I think it's really important to note that we're thinking about a time much earlier than the New Testament. And so when we come to think about the Old Testament, we need to be aware of, just because of politics, because of war, because of landscapes literally changing, it's going to be more difficult to locate things. It's going to be more difficult to get archaeological evidence, just because you're dealing with a much earlier time. And that is just par for the course. That's what happens when we're doing these sort of historical investigations. So just to bear that in mind, we're not going to probably get the same kind of archaeological finds or textual finds that we would with the New Testament. It's just the way that history works. And I think it's really interesting. I'll begin with this, a little quotation from a huge book actually. It's called Evidence That Demands a Verdict. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining in today. So this book called Evidence That Demands a Verdict is by two guys, I think father and son, Josh McDowell and Sean McDowell. And I think the latest edition is from 2017. It's reprinted in 2019. And they basically, in this book, present lots of data, lots of evidence and information that essentially demands a verdict. What are you going to make of this in terms of the Christian faith? And when they're talking about archaeology in the Old Testament, I find it really interesting that I'm just going to repeat that. I think the video cut out. So when the McDowells are addressing Old Testament archaeology, they do so in a measured way. And this is what they say in their book. Clarifying the proper relationship between biblical text and archaeological science begins by, and I think this is really key, shifting away from words such as prove and proof in favour of terms like consistent with, corroborate and commensurate with. Both biblical and archaeological scholarship must go where the evidence leads. And so rather than suggesting that a certain pot was found in the desert somewhere, therefore it proves what the Bible has to say. If you notice through all of the talks that we're doing today, through this week about the Bible, it's suggesting, it's kind of giving other alternative views of maybe what society might say, well, the Bible is just a myth. So we're trying to be measured in our approach, is what I'm trying to say. And so I think that's quite a humble position that these biblical scholars take, and they actually present some really compelling evidence. I'll put this in the description again. The book is called Evidence That Demands a Verdict. So what can we find through archaeology? So there was a huge groundbreaking discovery in 1946/1947 of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Over 800 manuscripts were found of a lot of the Old Testament, okay? And it was believed to have been written, some say 250 BCE, or some say 150 BCE to 70 AD. So that's kind of like the conservative and liberal dating. So this discovery was huge, absolutely groundbreaking for biblical studies and for textual criticism as well. So that was found in 46 and 47, and invariably online you're always going to get the bloggers who say fake, fake, fake. But I think that when we take into consideration sort of the academic sort of scholarship, these scrolls were found, and that's great. And what was really interesting about the Dead Sea Scrolls is that it really showed the levels of accuracy, the scribal accuracy in Jewish tradition of writing the biblical text down. And, you know, what we have in our Bibles produced today is very much linked to what these manuscripts show. So I think that was a really important find. And interestingly enough, I can't believe the timing of this is uncanny. Literally a few days ago, and this has hit mainstream news. This isn't just, you know, a Christian blogger blogging away somewhere. This has hit the BBC, National Geographic. I believe it was on other news channels as well. That more fragments of the Old Testament were found literally a few days ago in something that's described as the Caves of Horror. I think somewhere in the Judean desert, these more fragments were found of the book of, let me just check, Zechariah and Nahum. And the language that these texts have been written in is Greek, but the name of God is written in Hebrew. So that was a great discovery literally a few days ago. And again, they're going to be further tests and things like that, but this has been celebrated. It's made national, it's made mainstream news, which is fantastic. So from 1946, this is a huge discovery of some more fragments of the text of the Old Testament for us, which is great. Then there's also some other archaeological finds that are of artifacts, rather sort of tangible artifacts, rather than just text, tangible artifacts. And I found this one quite interesting. And Sean McDowell, he's got a great YouTube channel. You can check him out on some of the stuff he says about this. In the 1990s, there was a slab found, which had a reference to the house of David. And this slab was called the Tel Dan Stele, and it's the Tel Dan inscription. And that's quite important because sometimes biblical figures from history can be consigned to myth or literary figures. You know, they weren't really real. But this inscription suggests that David was actually a real person, the Tel Dan Stele. So do check that out if you have some time. And I'll finish with this one here. There's also a discovery of Hezekiah's tunnel. Now, in academia, there are different views on the dating of the tunnels, and suggesting that maybe it's not what maybe more biblical scholars might suggest. But Hezekiah's tunnel has been discovered. It was rediscovered, should I say, in the 1800s. And there's references to it in the Book of Kings and the Book of Chronicles, this kind of water work or waterway, an actual physical find and reference in the Bible. So a little bit like the New Testament, what we have here is sort of the textual criticism side of things, text found of the Old Testament books. And very, very recently, literally a few days ago. And what we also have is some archaeological sort of tangible finds as well. And there are more. Do check out Sean McDowell's YouTube channel and just kind of look at some of the things he talks about with the Old Testament. And again, this book here, Evidence That Demands a Verdict, very, very compelling stuff. And so what I would say to the points that I've raised today is that we need to be aware of the presuppositions that we bring to investigating the claims of the Bible. Are we just going to say it's just a myth? Because if you are, that will impact how you interpret data that is found. But if you have a bit more of an open mind, let's look at the possibilities. Does it prove that the Bible is true? Does it prove that Christianity is true, that the theological claims of the Bible are true? Not necessarily. That's not all we're going with this at this point. We're saying there is more, there is evidence out there which gives a strong case for some of the historical claims of the Old Testament. I hope that's helpful to you. Tomorrow we're going to be thinking about the theological claims of the Bible, particularly around the resurrection, and why that's really pivotal for us to consider when we're thinking about, can we trust the Bible? Great to be with you this morning. I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you tomorrow.